Welcome to an SFB Addict video. Again, the art used in this video is from Adam Turner, Ted Giebel, and Xander Fulton, as well as from the StarfleetGames.com website directly, and a couple of images directly from the internet. The Hydran Kingdom. Hydrans are small, just over 1 meter tall, multi-sexed, tripedal methane breathers. You would think that since they occupy worlds no other humanoids want or can live on, they would get along very well with their neighbors. Not so when their neighbors are the Lyrans, who like to eat them, and the Klingons who, well, may very well also like to eat them. They have been engaged in a losing war against both for at least 150 years. The Klingons and Lyrans occupied Hydran territory from year 87 to year 135, the same year the Hydrans developed the fighter and fusion beams. Early Hydran ships don't have very powerful phasers, so instead they went heavily into point defense with Gatling phasers. A phaser G is essentially 4 bursts of phaser 3 fire. So, 4 phaser 3s, but in one weapon mount. They also have 2 heavy weapon types. The first heavy weapon is the fusion beam. It is equal in strength to a phaser 1 beyond range 6, but at short range is twice as powerful when overloaded, and 3 times as powerful when fired in suicide mode, which destroys the weapon. It is a 2-turn firing weapon where phasers can fire every turn. The other heavy weapon is the Hellbore, deployed in year 156, also a 2-turn firing weapon. Like a photon or disruptor, the Hellbore is a direct beam weapon, but unlike the former, the Hellbore envelops the entire ship and applies half its strength to the weakest shield. The unofficial third heavy weapon is the fighter. Most Hydran ships carry a couple of fighters, and some more than a few. The fighters are armed with phaser Gs and fusions. The Hydrans were the first to deploy fighters in year 134, originally armed with fusions and a phaser 3. Later, a few fighters armed with Hellbores were deployed. Hydran ships come in 3s, just like they have 3 sexes. There is a fusion-armed version, a Hellbore-armed version, and a mixed version. The fusion version carries the most fighters, and the mixed version typically 2 to 6 fighters. The Hellbore version usually 0 to 2 fighters. The mixed ships are usually leader or command variants. While the ships with the most fighters seem to have the least effective weapons, phaser 2s and fusions, they are also the least expensive. That's because fighters cost BBV. Each fighter is typically 10 BBV. Hydrans have perhaps the most unique looking hulls. Their frigates and war destroyers look like flying insects. Their destroyers like a chisel or wedge. Their light cruisers through to their BCHs look like a wedge with a long shaft and feathers or warp engines at the end. Their DN looks like a long insect or a small wedge in front and a larger wedge behind. Rather appropriate, as that mimics their fleet tactics of get close, really, really close, and drive a wedge right into the heart of the opposing fleet. Hydrans have a very suicidal tactic preference. My favorite Hydran ships are the Gendarme, DWH, LN, KN, and BAR. First, the Gendarme, the GEN, at 44 BPV and 64 after you pay for its fighters. It's deployed in year 142. It looks like a fly with its wings plucked off. It has 2 fusion beams, FA, 1 phaser 2, 360, and 1 phaser G, RX, and carries 2 fighters and 3 shuttles. Next is the DWH, the Rhino Hunter war destroyer. It is 95 BPV, deployed in year 176, looks like a fly. It has 2 Hellbores, FA, 2 phaser 1s, 1 FAL, 1 FAR, 2 phaser 2s, LFL and RFR, and 2 phaser Gs, 360, has 2 shuttles but no fighters. Next is the LN, or Lancer Destroyer, deployed in year 134, It is 67 BPV, 107 with its fighters, 117 with its refit. It has 3 fusion beams, FA, 5 phasers, 2 of which are 2 phaser 2s, FA, 1 phaser 2, 360, and 2 phaser Gs, RA. It carries 4 fighters and only 1 shuttle. A 10 BPV refit changes the 360 phaser 2 to a phaser 1 and the RA phaser Gs to left side, right side phaser Gs. Next is the Knight, the KN. It is the Hellbore version of the Lancer. Deployed in year 172, it is 90 BPV. It has 2 Hellbores, FA. It has 5 phasers, 2 phaser 2s, FA, 1 phaser 1, 360, and 2 phaser Gs, 1 left side, 1 right side. It has 1 shuttle and 0 fighters. And finally, the Baron Light Command Cruiser, the BAR. It is 121 BPV, deployed in year 173. It's 181 BPV with the fighters. It has 2 Hellbores, FA, 2 fusion beams, FA, 4 phaser 1s, 2 FAL and 2 FAR. It has 2 phaser Gs, 1 left side and 1 right side, and 6 fighters and 2 shuttles. I'm sure my picks will be controversial to any die-hard Hydran player. While other ships like the Ranger with its 4 fusions and 9 fighters are more common to see, and larger ships like the Dreadnought and BCHs are much more dangerous and packed to the gills with weapons, it is the smaller ships with their small fighter swarms that make for more enjoyable battles, and thus contain my favorite Hydran ships. So, what are your favorite Hydran ships? What's your favorite fighter?